they don't come with a manual. Your children don't come with a manual. There is a lot of information out there that could help you, but it's the first time. So ladies, first thing I want to say to you, don't be too hard on yourselves. It is a huge role. It's a big deal what you're doing, becoming a mom. And it's the first time you're doing it and you are learning. So you are not expected to get everything perfect. You are not expected to get the Mother of the Year badge. It's a process. You are learning, right? So ladies, good night. Again, for those of you who are, if you are here for the first time on the call, just put in the comments that hi, Onika, or good night. This is my first time. And you could probably let us know what is your name, because we're always happy to see the first timers. You know, when they're first timers on the call. So you could just type it in the comments. Also, give people some more time to come in, but I do want to get an idea of like how many single mothers we have on the call, and also how you ended up being a single mother. So we do a little poll for that in a bit that Celeste would share, and you just tick it off like we did that, you know, a couple of weeks ago, right? So that I'm not seeing any comments. Nobody's new on this call. That I don't believe. First time single mom. Good night, Candy, and welcome. I hope that by the end of tonight's session, that I would have been able to help you. This is going to be a two-part series. Hi, Natasha, welcome. It is going to be a two-part series. Sis Lisa, good night. And next week, I am inviting someone who's the mother of 8 children. She has 8 children, and they have stages, they're stages, right? 8 children, right? So next week we will have a guest who's going to help you, because you all can imagine, and husband or no husband, to have 8 children, you're going to be faced with some challenges. Yeah, husband or no husband, it will be challenging. So she's going to be on next week, and that's going to help you all. I mean, she's considered an expert now. Her eldest is maybe 21 or 22. And so she's been at it for a while. I'm the mom of twin boys, 4 years. Whoa. Lisa, maybe by the end of tonight, sometime during the night, you could tell us how that how that goes. Single mom, 6-year-old, single mom, 9-year-old. Right. So we have a few single moms, right? So Celeste, maybe you can, because you all, I'm sure, well, okay, in today's world, I can't make the statement I was going to make, because in today's world, there are women who decide they don't want to be married. They don't necessarily want to be tied to one man for the rest of their life, but they do want to have a children. They do want to have a child, and so they do that on their own. They do that on their own. Rather, it might be through a sperm donor, or I actually know somebody who traveled to, was it Venezuela, some one of those South American countries, and she adopted a child. The child was a baby when she adopted the child. She didn't want to get married. She didn't want, she just wanted a child. But most of you who are in this position now, it was not by choice. You had other plans. I don't think you woke up one morning and said, I want to be a single mom. I want to do this thing all by myself, right? Stuff happens, right? And we know how life could be sometimes. So Sally, you could put that poll up now, and you all could just answer how you became a single mom. Just be interested for me to see. So Celeste will put it up on the screen, and you just have to click the answer that suits your situation. Waiting on Celeste Ferreira.
Yeah, 1 second.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, so ladies, look forward to what we're going to talk about tonight, and also next week. Sally, you were saying something?
No, I think it's up.
No. Well, I'm
See
not
that?
seeing it.
Oh,
No.
I seen people voting.
Oh, okay. Perhaps my phone, I'm not seeing it on my phone. So you would have to tell me, because I'm not seeing it. You would have to tell me what are the
Okay.
results. So I'll give you all some time. some time to put your answers. Right, as Celeste said, ladies, if you know someone who is a single mom who perhaps did not know about this call before, feel free. If you find I'm mangling my words, let me explain, right? Can choice be an option? Or, we should have put that, we should have put by choice, but I guess, yeah. Answers unapplicable. Okay. So I'd be interested to hear what would be the other reasons why people will end up in a, well, besides choice, because as I said, there are people who could decide that they want to raise a child on their own. I was going to explain to you all, if it seems like my words, I'm speaking backwards and thing, whatever. I was clearing out some clothes today that was kind of on the dusty side, and it activated my sinuses, which hasn't happened for a while. And so I took a sinus tablet, which has me slightly feeling like I'm in a cloud, slightly, yeah, on edge kind of way. I never took it before, so maybe it had a bad effect on me. Okay, so Sally, maybe you could probably state the results now. Single mom by choice.
Are you
Maybe
seeing
could
the
you?
results?
No, I'm not. I'm not seeing anything on so you're gonna have to read it out for me.
Okay.
But I don't know if there are people who didn't get to vote, Sally. You want to give them another chance?
It would have to start over.
Okay, no problem. Okay, you go ahead. Tell me, call it out because I'm
Um, Christine, we have unwilling father as one of the options. Okay, but we have a widow. We have two people said through widowhood. 3 said they're divorced. 4 had an unplanned pregnancy or willing father. 8 said because of a breakup. So
okay.
through a
I saw,
breakup.
right. I saw some people type by choice, like a couple of people. I saw somebody say that none of the answers applied to them. So I don't know if that person wants to, perhaps you could type in the comments what was your how you ended up being a single mom. Once it's not by choice, because by choice could mean you decided to adopt two, or right, but anything other than by choice. Okay, I wanted a kid. So basically, Lisa, okay, I think I understand. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the main one seems to be breakup. By choice, you do not want the father. Oh, okay. All right. So I think I get, that's what I thought. So and that is a common thing. I have 2 children. I became a single mother with my first son. Right. There are some women who purposely get pregnant. They have a partner and they purposely get pregnant unknown to the partner because they want to have a child. And they know that there's a possibility that I'm not going to be with this child father, but they want a child at all costs. So um, they're willing to make that sacrifice, right? So yeah, I think I get that. I understand that, right? So that was the last comment there. Somebody was saying something about check. I wasn't able to read it.
Somebody is saying what by choice you do not want the fathers. No, the very last comment is I have 2 children, aged 30 and 10, became a single mother by breakup to my first
Okay.
son, and a single mother by unplanned pregnancy /
Okay.
unwilling father to my second son.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, no problems. All right. So let's get in. So I mean, I kind of have a fair idea, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who might. Yeah, I'm sure there are other reasons why, right? But let's get into it. First of all, ladies, being a single parent, a single mother, is not an ideal situation. It's not, even though some of you may have planned it, I could tell you for a certainty that that was not God's plan for families. That was not God's plan initially. Now, listen, we have strayed away from God's plans in almost every area of our lives, right? Guys, 1 second for me, right? Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah. So it was never God's plan. And family, the family unit, the idea of children came from God, just like marriage, right? And we've spoken about that many times. It came from God. That is God's idea. And when he came up with that whole plan, he had a structure in place. He actually had a plan. It wasn't nothing that God does, guys. It's just by like vaps, let me see what I could do today. Hey, I go make a man, then I go make a woman, take her rib out, and then you know what? They could have churn and organize, right? It wasn't like that, right? Um, there's a purpose and a plan behind families, and there's a reason why God wanted both a father and a mother in the lives of children. Um, a very big mistake that some, not all, single mothers make is to think that their child does not need a father, right? It's to think that their child is okay without a father. They even tell the children that you don't worry, you don't need that, you don't need you don't need no father. I will take care of you, right? Um, and some women develop this mentality of, well, you kind of have to, because you're bringing up this child alone. But the thinking is they're not missing anything, right? By not having their father here because he's a waste of time anyway, right? I don't know if all you're willing to start off being so honest and transparent from so early, but that's one of the things that we do on this call. We are open, we are transparent, right? How many of you have kind of said that? Maybe not in those words, but basically it's said in the back of your mind, or maybe said out loud. Them better off without a father, yes? He's a waste of time, right? Or they're missing nothing, right? How many of you have said that? Or at least something close. You could type it in the comments. Let me see. We starting off with transparency early. Oh gosh. Shanique come out and she said me. She has said that. Anybody else has made comments like that? Whether it might be in your heart, not me, okay, in my mind, but not say it right. Yes, I've said that before. Right, okay. Yeah, so some people are saying, yes, they have said it. Some are saying they've said it out. Some said they said it in their heart. I saw one person said they never said anything like that. Right. Out here saying, I understand the importance of a father. Right. Okay. Yes. All right. So, which is father, but needs one is my mind. Okay. I get you. I get you, Stacey. Right. Um, without. Yeah, I understood that. Right. Okay. So I know what you all mean, right? Is that this child might be better off without their father in their life because he worthless, he promiscuous, he don't provide, he may be abusive, and your thinking is having him around is actually worse for my children. And if your child's father is like those things that I said, you are perhaps correct, right? Now, I wouldn't say it's better for your child not to know their father, right? For example, right? But it is better that your child, that you and his father, like he's not involved in the decisions and raising of the child, because who knows what kind of bad decisions he might make for your child. If it is somebody like I described, right? About example, abusive, not a good father, talking down, so sometimes it is better, right, that he would come and visit or whatever, see the child now and again, but not necessarily be a part of raising that child and instilling values in that child. However, ladies, that does not mean, no matter how, listen to me, yeah, ladies, listen to this, right? No matter how, it's very important. If your child's father, if he not totally off, right? We know it. Listen, I know I encounter some people with situations where the man is just totally off in his thinking and actually dangerous to be around the children. So I am not talking about a man like that, right? But if he does want to be a part of his child's life, he should be able to see his child, should be a part, right? Um, but here, what I'm going to say now, this is what I want you to listen to, not what I just said, right? It doesn't matter how bad he was or whatever he gone. The fact that your child does not have a father in their life, it is just something that is built into them that is going to listen. The child almost cannot help but grow up without that, like without having like a void, right? um, Without them wondering and pondering what would my life have been like if I had another father, let's say another type of father. So let's say when they get old enough, they realize that their father is no good, right? No good. It still doesn't stop them from wondering what if my life would have been different if I had another type of dad, if I had a dad who cared, or if ladies, listen to me, right? I know I keep saying that, but it's important what I'm saying. I know we're talking about single mothers, but I have to establish the importance of fathers before I get into what I want to say to you all as single mothers, right? I have counseled many adults, right, who are still affected in their lives by the absence of a father, right? Many adults, or many adults who have been affected by a bad father in their life, right? So a father who was not a good example, a father who only said hurtful things to them, who brought them down, um, who were not able to affirm them in any way. And listen, adults with their own family who are still living in in that, in the past in their minds, right? um Raylene is saying that she could attest to that, right? And so I'll tell you all an interesting story real quick. There's a story, I don't know how many of you all know this pastor called Charles Stanley. He was given a story once where he's been preaching. He has been a minister, a preacher for about 60 years, right? Could be in his 80s, like really. I don't know how. He's been around for a while. But he's actually been a preacher maybe 50, 60 years. And he said a good way into his ministry, he started realizing that there was something, even though he was doing everything right, saying everything right, his ministry was growing, he had a wife and children. He said he always felt some kind of void. He said, and he always felt that he was missing something, even in his sermons. He said he always felt it like, well, he didn't recognize it then, but now he knows and recognizes it as the Holy Spirit trying to prompt him about something in his life, right? And he shared that his father died when he was 9 months. So he actually never knew of his father, never knew his father. And I don't believe his mother never remarried. So he grew up without a dad. But his mom was fine. It's just that he grew up without a dad. And he said he thought it never affected him. He said it's never something that he said as a boy, when people parents would come to parents teachers meeting and he would see kids with their fathers, he would think about it. Wow, what would it have been like if I had a dad and that kind of thing. But he never thought that he was affected by it, right? Like it was, that was kind of driving his decisions and that kind of thing. And then he said he decided to have a meeting with some people, that 4 men he said that he really trusted, and he told them, I want you all, we're gonna pray, whatever, and I want you all to tell me everything, because he couldn't figure out what was his thing. I want you all to tell me everything that you all think that I might be missing. Whether it be ministry, my personality. Basically, he was searching for what it could have been, because he felt strongly there was something missing. And he said, one of them said, at that point, he said, he told him, Charles Stanley, I want you to close your eyes. um, yeah, I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself, let's say at 2 years old, right? He told him, close his eyes, picture himself at 2 years old, and picture, or three, picture your dad, right? Running up to you, right? He told him, picture him like how he would look in a photo, running up to you and picking you up, spinning you around, and then hugging you, right? And Charles Stanley said he did it. He closed his eyes, he did it. And he said that he asked him when he opened his eyes, his friend or pastor, whoever it was, asked him, how did you feel? How did you feel? And he said, I felt, I felt warm, I felt safe, I felt loved, I felt secured. He said, and I felt like a happiness. He said the two things he felt was like a security and a happiness that he had never felt before in reality, because he was imagining this. And then he said he just started to sob and sob and sob and like just uncontrollably, he was sobbing, right? And he said in that moment, he realized even though he would teach about it, preach about it, write books about it, he never experienced the love of a father, and it affected his life. And also, he never fully embraced the love of God either. He did not, he didn't, he realized that because all those feelings that he expressed to them, he didn't even feel that with God when he would think about God, right? And it came from his lack of having a father in his life, right? There were things that he was missing that he didn't even know. And he went on a quest to find out why there was this partial emptiness, And he was urging the congregation when he was speaking to them that don't think that fathers are not important in your children's lives, and don't take separation lightly. Yeah, because some people just say, yeah, I done with you, whatever, like move. I would take my child and I will mind my child. Man, it might sound simple like that for you, but it could affect your child for years to come. And so I would ask some of you ladies, we get into you and the single moms, right? Don't worry, you're going somewhere. Those of you listening to me, how many of you on this call could say that you feel now as an adult you were affected by the absence of a father if you did not have a father, or by a father who was not a good father? Right? Let's say you did have a father, but he wasn't good. He wasn't good to you. He never spoke good things over your life. He never offered those that feelings that Charles Stanley mentioned about security and love and happiness and just affirmation. You never got those things from your father. And as an adult now, you could look back and say, I think I was affected by either not having my dad or having one that was just, didn't know how to father properly, emotionally absent. That is a common thing. I don't know if it's a Trinidad thing. I'm being honest. I could only speak for our culture, but I hear a lot of people saying that even though they grew up with a dad, right, in the home, and the parents stayed together for 40 years, emotionally, their father was not there. He offered no emotional support. They never felt that, they never got the affirmation. That is something I hear commonly in Trinidad. A lot of people say that, right? Um, so let me see, ladies, how many of you feel that you have been affected by a lack of a father? I want to see the comments. You could just say yes. You don't have to type in length how. Just say yes, I feel I've been affected by not having a father in my life or having one that was not a good influence in your life. For sure. Anybody else? Yes, seriously affected. Anybody else? Type it. I wanted my father more than my life. My goodness. My goodness. I feel that as you type that. I feel that. I've never been affected when my father's not around. I beg to differ. Yes, physically. I hear you all. Yes, I've had a dad. I believe I don't know. Ex. I had daddy issues. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right. So a few of you well. A few of you well. Right. And as I said, as I said, I have counseled. This is just a few of you all on this call, but yeah, seriously affected. I can't even speak of him today. Wow, wow. Okay, so I have spoken. So there are a lot of ladies with daddy issues, right? And I have spoken to a lot of women too with daddy issues, right? Um, and as I said, in some cases, it was better that the dad wasn't there in the moment raising the child, but it's never good emotionally, right? Ladies, do not underestimate the power of a father's influence in the life of a child, a real father, right? Let me just say to you all, God is our father. He is the ultimate daddy. And I mean, it's interesting our building are going somewhere, right? I have to do this for you all to understand how important your roles are, right? Um, the fathers can be awful. Yes, 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 right? Um, God made man in his own image and likeness, and woman, right? But he made Adam first. Right? I know women don't like to hear that, but he made Adam first in his own image and likeness. It meant that Adam not only looked like him, similar to him, but Adam also had traits of God. He was God's child, right? Um, and God made Adam the head of the home and the head of the family, and he eventually made Eve, and he told them to be fruitful and to multiply. But he put Adam as the one to head the home, to head the unit, right? Um, and there are things that God naturally gave to Adam, um, that, in terms of his attributes, personality, characteristics, character, just things that a man can offer to a child that a woman perhaps can do it if she has to substitute, but it just isn't going to be the same as if it was a man. And that is God's plan, right? That was God's plan. Um, so family was God's plan, and a father was God's plan. And it's very important to children. You all know how important a father is because some of you all are still living in the effects of not having one or having a horrible one. So I don't have to convince anybody here that having a good father in your life could be a benefit to you, right? Fathers are important to your children, right? Ladies, and God, it's an important thing to God as well. With that said, right? With that said, I'm off of the fathers now. But before I move on, I want to say this to you ladies, um, who I could tell that some of you are still hurting from things that your father did or did not do. Um, just to let you all know, ladies, and I hope this doesn't sound cliche to you, God wants you to know him as father. And if you really do get to know God as father, it does help to take away the pain of what you feel when you think about your earthly father and what he did or did not do or should not have done, or just him being absent. God can fill that void that was never filled by your father. Excuse me, but you have to give him a chance to do that. And you have to get to know him as father, and you have to accept his love, right? Many times, oh, again, I can't tell you all how many times I've heard this as well, where a lot of people cannot relate to God as Father because they just have no clue what that is, because they never had it. They have no clue how it would look. They might quicker be able to relate to God as mother, right? But to say I could relate to God as father and daddy, and you might hear people saying, "Oh, my Abba Daddy, Abba God, and Abba Father," and I love, and you are like, you just can't relate. You cannot relate to God as your father, right? Can any of you say that that might be you tonight as well, where you yourself cannot relate to God as father? You try and you hear it, you hear people talk about it, you hear sermons about it, but you can't really, it's not something that, like, you feel like you don't have it in you to relate to God as father. Or maybe you felt like that at some time and you're now in a better place. Let me see, type it in the comments if you feel like that or felt like that at one time in your life, that you cannot relate to God as father, as daddy. Like you can't even call him daddy because you don't know what that is. Let me see in the comments. Nobody? I even see it. I trust him, but it's hard. Wow. So Evie says she even says it, that she can't relate to God as father. That is interesting, right? That is very interesting. If I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. Right? So ladies, before I go on to you as a single mom and your children, I want to encourage you all to get to know God as daddy and allow him to heal whatever hurt you are still carrying around where your father is concerned, where his absence is concerned, or his lack of love for you. Um, you thought of God like a mother. I know I've talked to people before who said they can relate to God more like a mother in the more nurturing way. And man, God is everything to us. Once you know he's not female, but yes, you could relate to God as mother. I totally understand that, right? Okay, so ladies, um, it brings me to this point. We spoke about a father and how important he's constant. Father, look up to him, right? And how important it is, ladies, for a child to have a father growing up. So I want you to think now of the important role that you have as a single mother, especially those of you where the child's father is not a part of their lives. Because some of you, you are raising your child alone in that your partner no longer lives with you. You're not in the same space raising the child, but the father is still around, right? He still comes, he visits, he would take his child, bring them back. He would call every day. He would, he's still a part of their lives, and um he still provides emotional support, financial support, you know. So I know some of you are in that position, right? But he's just not living in the same space with you, right? But those of you who your child's father is not in your life at all, you have a very big responsibility. And even those who the father is not in the same home, right? Because that, don't matter how involved daddy is, it still affects a child that mommy and daddy were once together and now daddy gone. Or the child who never had a father, right? Who, let's say the child's father passed away, or they just the father, just gone, you don't even know where he is, no contact, right? Your role as single mommy is extremely important, ladies. It is not something to be taken lightly. It is a huge responsibility you have, and one that God never meant that you should have alone, right? So, with that said, ladies, let me let you know you have God's support, right? Many times you are so wrapped up in your own emotional turmoil, and you're so focused on yourself and who is me and what I'm going through as a single mother, you never really stop to give God a chance to be your support in that in parenting that child on your own. But I'm telling you, you have his support. He's there with you, right? And it's a situation that he doesn't want you to be in. So you have extra help in the spirit realm, right? So to speak, right? But it's a serious thing. It's not to be taken lightly. Ladies, it is not to be taken lightly, right? If you love your children, you'd want to do right by them emotionally. It's not about providing only the things that they need, schooling, um, food, shelter. It's so much more than that. I think if I ask most children, again, or maybe as an adult, what you preferred, to have everything you need and growing up, and a no emotional connection with your parents, or you rather put through a little struggle, a little hardship, but you had the most loving, supporting parents that you could ever have. I think everybody would choose having the loving, supporting parents, because that emotional support, ladies, is more important than providing all the things that you fuss about, right? Many of you all, as we say, you break your neck trying to make sure your child get the best education, but you never try to break your neck to ensure that they have the best love and emotional support and care and a safe, a secure environment, right? So the emotional support, those things, ladies, your child needs it more than the other things. Trust me, right? Um, so so there are three things that your children need. Not them, there's more, but I just highlighted three things that your children really need, you know, growing up with a single mom, and three things you ladies really need to focus on having to raise a child on your own, right? So tonight I'm going to cover what you need. If I could cover both, let me start by what the child needs, and then I'll go to what you needs. What what you need. Um, because that's what I want to focus on tonight, right? Remember, this is a part two, and we want to bring a guest next week, right? She has 8 children. Trust me, you're going to learn a lot, right? From her. A lot of tips and tricks and ways to make your life easier. Okay. So here are the three things that your child, most important things that a child growing up in a single family home would need, right? Or with you, mommy, right? Number one, this is what the child needs: unconditional love and security, not just love, right? Because many of us, as parents, wives, brothers, sisters, we say we love, but our love sometimes have conditions attached. So I love you if I really love you, and I show it when you do X, Y, Z, right? When you do good and you clean up your room properly, I feel good. I have a nice child, right? And so a child, those things come across as though I only getting this love and attention if I do something great. So like I had to work for this love. This love like it's free, right? So ladies, your child more than anything needs love, unconditional love, and security, right? You, if your child's father is not around, you are that child's main source of love. And what that child needs more than anything in this world, what we all need is love. It's to experience unconditional love. It's to know what true love is, to know what the love of God is. Yes, right? But also, especially for a child doesn't understand God's love and unconditional love and stuff until they get much older. So their source of love and security, ladies, is coming from you. If the child's father is still in their life, of course, the father can do that as well. But the child is spending more time with you. In most cases, if you have the child, right, the child living with you, the child is with you most of the time, right? So you have a big responsibility. Um, and security is, listen, security for a child is important with mommy and daddy there. But when it's just you raising the child, giving that child a space where they feel safe, and I'm not talking about living in an area where it's safe and you don't have to have burglar proof. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the security of knowing that I am safe in this person's care. This person loves me. This person is not going to hurt me. This person is going to defend me. Yes, the natural security that this person is, because a child is basically defenseless, right? In every area. You have to feed them. You have to bathe them, clothe them. You have to wipe their bottom. You have to listen to when they're sick, the kind of things. I'm gonna see the mothers on the call. Well, it's a lot of mothers on the call. How many of you all ever suck snot out of your child nose? They was real congested and you had to suck it out. How many of you all? My hand is up, right? It was not nice. I remember the first time AV said never. Good for you. I'm so glad you never had to experience that. Sis Lisa say normal, normal. Henry said me, right? Yep. Natasha said yep, right? By two, right? Listen, the first time never had to. Kristen, thank God, thank God. There are tools for that, AV. I hear you, but sometimes in a moment, listen. And remember, I don't know if you all know, I had the tool. I'm seeing it right now. It was pink and it have a big ball at the end, and you're supposed to push it. You don't suck it out. It wasn't working one bit, right? It wasn't working one bit. And you're learning as a mother. And my mother and my grandmother tell me, so, girls, suck it out, right? Yeah. In the moment, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, Lisa. You not the child looking like the car breed. You're not gonna look for no tool and push it up. You just right. I did it twice. The first time I did it, after I did it, I gagged. Just the thought of it, not necessarily the taste of it, but the taste of it too. Sorry to gross you all out. Sorry to gross you all out, but it was not a nice thing. So like, all in being a mother, right? All in being a mother, right? But yes, oh boy, I didn't have to bring up the salty, yeah, but it was salty, right? Hey, and it was green too. But anyway, let's not go there. These are things that you have to do. Um, and this is not something you have to do if you're a single mother. This is something you do. I'm not a single mother, but my husband not gonna suck no snot out of my daughter's nose. I'm not even going to ask. I didn't even ask. I'm not even bothering to ask, right? I'm not even bothering. But I said that I was talking about safety, you know. And this child, all those are things that add up for the child. All those are things that the child could think about later on. They may perhaps tell them, they may not remember, they're small. Um, but that child depends on you for everything, for their that child's life is almost literally in your hands. I say almost because we can't leave God out. I remember God taught me something early in my motherhood. I had thoughts of paranoia where taking care of my daughter was concerned. I because being a first time mother, there were some traumatic things. What if, and you all as mothers, especially for your first child, right? What if this go wrong? People tell you about they could turn in the night and suffocate, right? They could turn on the bed and the head and the pillow and all kind of things people is telling. I don't know why people is telling them stories for, right? But just traumatic things, and I started to overthink. And I think fear started to set in when it came to taking care of my daughter. And one day I was talking to God, I was like, Lord, protect my daughter, and I pray in that way. And God literally stopped me in my tracks and say, who you think you were wholly responsible for you becoming an adult today? And he said, you think your parents was any better off than you? You are now 40, well, 30 something when my child was born, right? Um, my parents didn't grow up. When I was a baby, my parents were not in the law. They drink, party, my father smoking weed, whatever, he was like, God literally told me, what you think, that I wasn't there? Was that I didn't help protect you, that there weren't angels protecting you, that I played a part in, he said, so if I could take care of you when he was with your delinquent parents, you don't think I'm going to take care of your daughter as well? And wherever you can't be, so the times when I can't be there or I can't do anything, God was like, I will take up the slack. He basically said to me, Monica, relax. I have your back. You're not alone, right? I know I have my husband too, but you still feel, even though you have, listen, ladies, even though you have a husband there, you still feel all the responsibility, you still feel the pain, it's everything, right? And so God told me he has my back, right? And ladies, let me tell you, when it comes to raising your children, he has your back. If you listen, the amount of accidents that happened with my child, or almost accidents, and I know I could look back now and I could say it was God that protected her, right? And every step of the way, God will reassure me, I'm with you, Monica, you're not doing this on your own. Trust me, put your trust in me. I could take care of her too, right? And so that really put me at ease, to not be worried about every little thing, that God said, I have your back. You have your husband, but you have me too. So you could lean heavily. God was telling me I could lean heavily on him for support where my daughter was concerned, right? And ladies, it is the same thing for you. Listen, even 100 times more as you are doing it alone, right? I don't know what type of relationship you will have with God, but I'm telling you that you have his support, and it's not an imaginary support. Don't think because you can't see him, the support not real. Excuse me. There are times some of you have to drop your baby, your 3 4 month old baby, by a babysitter to go back out to work, right? You gotta put your listen. You could either go out to your mind thinking about all the things that could happen to your child in the daycare, or you could trust God and say, God, listen, I pray that your angels would guard over my baby, protect my baby. You have to trust that God is going to take care of your child as well, and that he is with you and it's not all on you. And that is something you really, I think Lisa said, you have to do by faith, right? You really do have to do it by faith, right? So, ladies, that is just number one, unconditional love. This is what your child needs more than anything, and that sense of security. The fact that their father is not there, it's already kind of have things shaky for them. So you as a single mother have to make sure there's extra security there for your child, that you make that child feel secure and safe in your love and in whatever environment that they are in, right? So number one, unconditional love. Not love that depends on how they perform, if they don't do something wrong, or if they listen to you. Unconditional love, right? The very next important thing that your child needs, ladies, is discipline. Sorry about the dramatics and the sigh and all that. But discipline is almost as important as love. And actually, discipline is love. It will be impossible for you to love somebody and not discipline or correct them, right? Discipline is extremely important. Let me read this for you in Hebrews, right? I'm reading Hebrews chapter 12. Let me just read it for you. I think it's 15. Yeah, hear this. Hear this, right? This is talking about God. We're gonna get to that, Lisa, right? I will certainly end in a reasonable time enough for you all to have to ask questions. And next week, you're going to have an opportunity to ask our guest questions as well, because she's going to have a lot of wisdom to share with you in that area. Right? Here it says, right, as you enjoyed this, right, here it says, right, my child, I'm reading Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6, my child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline and don't give up when he corrects you. For the Lord disciplines those he loves and he punishes everyone who he accepts as his child. As you endure this divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as his own child. Here, this is, I'm still reading the Bible here. Whoever heard of a child who is never disciplined by his father, right? And this is a question that the Bible is asking here. Whoever heard of a child who is never disciplined by his father? If God doesn't discipline you as he does all his children, then it means you are illegitimate and you are not really his child at all. Since we respect our earthly father who disciplines us, shouldn't we submit even more to the discipline of the Father of our spirit and live forever? For our earthly fathers discipline us for a few years, doing the best they know how, but God's discipline is always good for us, right? That it might bring us into holiness. So no discipline is enjoyable while it is happening. It is painful, but afterwards there will be a peaceable harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. So this passage is basically saying, and you all can read it after Hebrews chapter 12. I read from verse 6 to 11, right? That God is comparing his discipline to us, to a father disciplining a child. And what I find very interesting here is anytime it talks about, guys, anytime it talks about discipline in the Bible and children, it's the father, right? That is one of the roles of a father that God meant in the home. I'm not saying a mother can't discipline all, don't go down there, right? I'm saying one of the main functions of a father, how God meant for it to be, was to be the one doing the discipline. Was he would be the one in the home that will, you know, if the child is going off in a certain area, he would discipline, he would whatever punishment, he would be the one, right? That's how, because that's how God deals with us as his children. He's the one that would correct us, discipline us. And it's actually saying that how if your parents never ever discipline you and they let you do what they want, they do not love you. God is saying, if I were to let you just do whatever, you're not my child and I don't care about you. And it's the same thing as a parent, right? You have to understand that discipline is extremely important, especially as a single mother. Because let me tell you something, I'm going to read another scripture. This one is real short, right? This one comes from Proverbs. Yeah. This one comes from Proverbs, guys, right? Hear what it says. Foolishness, this is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will drive it out of him or drive it far from him, right? Please do not be, I just realized I skip a whole set here where it's talking about unconditional love, right? But I'll go back to it. Listen, ladies, even if you're even if even a small child, how many of you, well, everybody who had a child, they're either in the toddler stage before or after, right? So if you had a toddler, you will know that toddlers do some foolish things, especially boys. They find themselves up on your burglar proof looking to jump off. You come and meet them. Listen, if you and realize by now as a mother that this scripture that in Proverbs that foolishness is bound up in a child and the rod of correction will get it out of them. Children naturally, they don't have any understanding of right or wrong, and they have not learned about consequences for their actions yet, right? It takes them a while to get the gist of that. Like, wait, hey, if I climb up here and I fall, I bust my head, blood comes out, I end up in the hospital, I'm inconvenienced, I can't play again for 2 months. It takes them at least 3 bus heads to understand that this is not a good idea, right? This is not a good idea. Um, but foolishness is bound up in a child. And this is why discipline is important. And listen, well, yeah, I don't know if you all ever heard the saying, bend the iron while it hot. Apparently, when iron is hot, like at a particular temperature, you are able to bend it and shape it. If you do not start disciplining your child from very young, probably time they're toddler, they start to, listen, I actually have a, excuse me, I actually have video evidence. Yes, very important, yes. I actually have video evidence of my child at maybe she started walking. She just started walking. She was probably 14 months, 15 months, maybe 18 months, I'm not sure. Reaching for something on my center table that that I told her a million times you can't touch, right? And I was taping and she was going for it and she was looking at it and then looking at me. So she was doing this like and going for it, reaching for it to see how far she could go to touch it before I say no, because that was my normal thing. She was testing, she was like pushing my boundaries. She was like, okay, she not saying nothing, she not saying nothing. If I only, which takes me to the next point about double standards and discipline, right? If I had only let her touch that, she would say, oh, okay, I'm the alpha around here. If any one of y'all have dogs, you'll understand what I mean by the alpha. Children try to establish that they are the alpha in the home from young. If you let them, they will become the alpha in your home. You all know what I mean by alpha, right? They will rule your house. They will create chaos for you. Some of you might be living in a chaotic situation right now because you have allowed your children to take over your home. I allowed my dog to take over my home, and it became a chaotic situation, a sad chaotic one, but nevertheless chaotic, right? I'm sorry to compare the children to dogs, but there are similarities when you discipline them, right? Because children will take advantage of you and try to boss you around and try to manipulate you if you do not show them who is boss, right? Parents, haven't your children, your toddler, I'm sure your toddler tried to manipulate you already. I'm sure of it. Unless you have an angel, maybe there are angel children out there. But from a toddler stage, they're gonna try to manipulate you, trick you. They're going to keep trying to get their own way. They're gonna keep doing foolish things. So you have to instill discipline in them from early, right? From very early. Now, if you didn't, and let's say they're a little older now, and you are now trying to instill discipline in them, right? It is, I can't sit down here and fool you. Um, Yes, Stacey is saying exactly what the children do try to display alpha tendencies. They try to take over the home if they could, right? Um, I can't fool you. I can't actually offer you any comfort by the help of God. If your child has reached a certain age and does not have any discipline, it is going to be, listen, you have a task ahead of you if you are now trying to instill discipline in them. You are going to have a literal fight on your hands. That's just human nature. Your child is not being extra, you know, um, disobedient or rebellious, not like your child extra. If you are now, if the child was able to do whatever they want, toddler and probably a little older, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now they reach, let's say, 9, 10, 11, and you now trying to take it seriously, bacchanal. Because they're going to want things to just be the way it is. They want to be able to do what they want. They like it. It's what they fought for. That's what they fought to do, to be in charge, and now you're trying to take it away from them, right? So it is going to be difficult, but you can still do it. But you're going to have to become a, you'll be had a it will probably, again, I had to be honest with you, it will probably change the dynamics of your relationship with them, but it will be for the child's better, right? They will probably tell you they hate you a few times. Don't worry about that. They don't mean it. They don't mean it, right? They'll probably tell you they hate you. They'll probably try to say hurtful things to you. Ladies, your job is not to answer them in kind. Okay? Please, ladies. Not because your child say, I hate you, that you answer. Well, I hate you too. You ruined my life. Since you come in my life, is I suffering and it's your fault. Ladies, come on. Do you have any idea what that does to a child to hear those words come out of their mother mouth? That is, you have me where I am today, that I struggling because of you, and you don't care and you don't help me. That, that is not helping them. They're not going to go and sleep and wake up the next morning and say, oh gosh, I hurt mommy. My son's favorite words are, I would tell your father. Yeah. They're not going to wake up and say, oh my gosh, why did I tell mommy all those things? She was right to tell me she hates me. She was right. Maybe no, it really does damage to them internally, right? When they hear words like that. So, you're going to have to work on, because if you as a mother, you are lashing out at your child in that way, you have some serious things to deal with. And I'm going to get to you just now. We're still talking about what the child needs, right? So guys, discipline is extremely, extremely, extremely important, right? Do not have double standards when you're disciplining a child, right? Do not discipline them because of frustration, right? A toddler who throws down their cup of juice and spills it on the ground does not deserve a spanking. They ain't built up their motor skills yet. They can't even hold the cup, good man, woman. They can't now learning how to hold the cup. So if the cup fall and it's juice spill, you wipe it up because they can't do it. And you say, oh my darling, oh gosh, you still don't know how to hold the cup. And mommy teach you. Your hands, we're gonna fingers gonna get stronger, right? You don't beat the child like a mad woman because you vexed because you had a mop of the juice and you just clean the house, right? That's not discipline. That is you beating the child out of frustration. I don't consider that discipline. And I know many women, their discipline is frustration. So you come home tired, you're tired, you just want to kick your shoes off and do nothing, right? But because you're real tired and hungry, and a woman with that combination, not nice to be around. And you come home and your child had the place in a mess, the room in a mess. You come the place in a mess. It's not how you leave it. And you're mad because of that. But your anger and your frustration and your discipline in that moment is not because the child do no big thing, it's just because you tired and you vex that you have work to do. Right? If the child has chores to do and they are supposed to keep the place in a certain order, it's a structure, it's a rule in the home, and they come home and they didn't do it, you could discipline them in some kind of way, some kind of get them a timeout, but that's not something to take up something and beat your child for, right? You doing that because you frustrated and you vexed, right? I know none all you could tell me different here. That you sometimes you discipline your child out of your frustration. And the beating that the child gets is not because of the severity of whatever they did, it's because of how you feel. I know that because I get plenty frustration licks from my mother. I remember I get licks from my mother for little things I do, and I get licks like, what's all this? But what's all this for 6, 7? I trying to run, but I'm like, well, children now different. I couldn't answer. You could what again, like you can't speak except to say sorry, mommy, sorry, mommy, sorry, mommy, sorry, mommy. Those are the only words that come out your mouth. Nowadays it's different. Children justifying why they did, how they did, and they giving you a whole synopsis of and breaking down their actions, right? All I could say what I get next is sorry. But I want to say, mommy, you think all this call for? I used to want to say that, lady, you think all this call for? Boy, where's all this? But as I got older, and I would look back and think back, I realized now that it was her taking out her frustration on me for having, let's say, a bad day or an argument with my father or something like that, right? So, ladies, don't discipline your children like that, right? They need discipline, not that kind of discipline. If some juice fall on the ground, how many of you are guilty for the juice beating? Right? Your little toddler throw down juice. Gosh, man, the little fingers not even develop. How many of you all, well, I'm saying juice, but you know what I mean? Some mess they make, whatever. They can't even walk properly. And you beating them for making a mess. That's not, ladies, that's you being selfish. Right? Don't discipline your children like that. They're going to remember. They're not going to see that as love. They're not going to see that as love, right? Um, right. So don't discipline out of frustration, anger. So even in discipline, ladies, you have to do it with love. Even in discipline, right? Discipline is not you just go like a mad woman and you start a beat or whatever. I mean, I know not everybody disciplines physically. How many of you all discipline your children physically? Like you get a belt or a ruler or something and I've been saying, BT, can you share techniques on how to get a teenager to do their homework and how to express their anger positively? How many of you all, I'll get to that, remember your question, right? You'll ask me after. How many of you all, yes, me, yeah, yeah. So plenty means, right? Not enough. Same here. Okay. I probably had to physically beat my daughter. She's 16 now. Right. Because not necessarily because I didn't believe in it, in that type of punishment. But honestly, I never really had cause to, because I was never, because of what I know my mother, how my mother used to discipline me. Um, I made up my mind that I'm not going to have that kind of, I'm not going to discipline my child for those kind of things. A 3-year-old for throwing down juice or for eating food and making mess or for throwing something. Come now, it's a toddler. You know what I mean? If you have a toddler and you don't expect them to make mess, you know, hire a 24-hour maid or something. But, I don't think I had in the 16 years of bringing up my daughter, I probably hit her maybe 3 times, maybe 3 times. And it wasn't no severe beating either. And that is because she would listen. That's the honest truth. If I tell her something not to do or whatever to do, she would listen. So I really never had cause to. And I not because yes, she was just not, she wasn't a rebellious child naturally, but also from a very young age, um, I kind of had to show you had to show her, both my husband and I, who was boss in the home. I understood that from early. Just observing a toddler, I started to realize I see what going on. This child could try to take advantage of me, you know, and could control you with their emotions because they love them so much. Children could tend to try to control you and use that love. They're not doing it out of being bad. It's actually their nature. It's actually they all try to do it, right? Try to get their way. And I realized that if I'm not stern and I don't stand up for what I believe and I do, if I told them yesterday, you can't do this today, tomorrow is the same thing. I'm not changing my mind. That's another thing. If you discipline them for something today and then they do the same thing next week, and if they realize, wait now, she ain't saying nothing, they will keep pushing that boundary and trying to get away with things that they know they're not supposed to do. So you have to be very consistent in your discipline when you're disciplining children. If I say this is a no, it's a no all the time. It's not a no today because I'm in a mood, and it's yes tomorrow. Children very, very smart, and they could pick up on our inconsistent ways, and they could pick up on sometimes our hypocrisy, for want of a better word. They understand more than you think. So you have to be consistent um, in your discipline, or else they will wrap you around their little finger, right? The last one that a child needs, right? Last thing that a child needs is, so I said three. Now there's more. But I just picked out these three as a single mother that your child need growing up in a home with just a mother, right? They need structure in their life. They need routine in their life. Um, you may not think that having structure and routine creates a sense of safety for them, but it actually does, right? It's actually to your advantage and their advantage. If you bring up your child with a schedule, right, and you stick to it and there's structure, actually what that even does for the child, after years of seeing that structure and that routine, it actually makes them more independent. So you'd find that your child at maybe 4 years old, they know when you start getting teeth, right? Maybe 5 years old. No, not you getting teeth at 5. I know you get before that, but I mean, by the time they reach 5, they're so accustomed to the routine and the structure that when they wake up, they don't have to come to you to find out, well, what now? I wake up and they go and sit down in front of the TV, or today, and then tomorrow they wake up and they just want to start to play with a toy, right? If you have structure and routine in your child's life, and your child, from the time they could remember, from the time they had that one tooth, they knew that as I wake up, mommy would brush my teeth. Mommy would wake me up. Mommy would give me hugs and kisses first, right? Um, Listen, you all know about the 5 love languages. There's so much to cover in this thing. Huh? You all know it have 5 love languages, right? And we as adults, we say, well, my love language is X, my love language is Y, my love language, children, every single one of the love languages is important to them. You see, words of affirmation and touch, hugs, kisses. Oh my gosh, that is as important as words of affirmation to a child. That physical touch and hug and love. If you can't tell your child, I love you, you're doing your child an injustice. Kiss them up, hug them up, tell them you love them, look them in the eye, right? So after the morning hugs, let's say your routine, I'm not telling you what your routine should be, but if you should have one, and one that has structure in it and one that would benefit your child. So you might say, yeah, we have routine, we have structure. I just wake up and tell them, you go try and pull the fridge open with your little hand and see where you can get now. Or I tell them, wake up and go and play in the dirt. Or I tell them, yeah, wake up and turn on the TV. That's my routine. I'm talking about one that is healthy and one that will be beneficial to your child, right? So let's say it's wake up and go brush your teeth. By the time the child is 5, if you're crying and you're fussing about you have no time for yourself, right? This is one of the ways, ladies, having a routine and a proper structure in your child's life. This is one of the ways that you can actually get more time for yourself. Because from the time your child reaches 5 years old, they're so indoctrinated in this routine and this structure that they get up, they go, they get a toothbrush for themselves, they put the toothpaste on and they brush their teeth. Obviously, they're doing it for a while. You teach them. They brush their teeth, they do what they have to do, they rinse, and they come and say, Mommy, I brush my teeth. And you're like, all right, you didn't have to do that, right? You didn't have to do that. As they get older, well, they can't do a lot of things for themselves as a toddler, excuse me, or a 5 year old. But whatever they can do for themselves, they will try to do because it has become routine and structure, right? And it's structure, routine, structure, right? You can't try, listen, to try and, yeah, I trying to do that with my daughter now. She might have particular some things in order. Like when it comes to studying, I have never, ever, ever had to tell my daughter when she come home to go and do your homework. Never. She would come home. I actually would get vexed. It would be the opposite. She would come to the door, drop her bag, and go and sit on my table and start her homework. And I'd be like, "Girl, take a break. You just come from how much hours in school?" She said, "No, I want to do my homework." She used to want to do it and get over with it so she could relax for the evening, right? And up to now, when it comes to studying, she's doing CXC. I don't have to. She make up a timetable and she doing her studying. Every day she know what she's studying. I didn't do that. I didn't do that as a child, as a teenager, and we actually never taught her that. That's just something that she did on her own, right? So every child is different. But when it comes to cleaning her room, yeah, is a different story. And now I'm trying to get her organized in that area, and it's problematic. It's problematic, right? So um, it's going to help you, ladies, in the long run when your child becomes more independent and is able to do things for themselves. It gives you a little more time, right? And if you have more than one child and you have older ones, so you have one that might be a teenager or 13, 14, and they're able to help the smaller ones, that also gives you time. But that is something you have to instill in them from small, that kind of routine and structure, and just giving them, guiding them as to what they need to do every day. It's going to help you in the long run, right? Not only them, they're going to grow up to be more disciplined adults. They're going to be able to keep their environment cleaner, neater. It will help them generally in their life if they grow up in that kind of structure. That's something that I lacked, and I saw where I suffered for it growing up, right? My mother basically did everything for us, right? Which I thought was the best thing for me. When you're a teenager and a young, in 7, 8, 9, 10, you're thinking, well, hey, this is the best mother in the world. She would do everything for us. She'd make up our bed, you make breakfast, she'd do everything, and she would wash the wares too. So basically, you're not doing anything, right? But I realized that was actually not, because as an adult, I thought they would just click in now when I get my own home and my own family, but it wasn't. It wasn't just an automatic, okay, now I have to do this. It was a task for me to adjust, right? So don't do your children that injustice, right? Um, okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here and allow you all to ask questions. Let me just say the 3 things that you as mommies need, but I'm not going to go through them tonight, right? I'm just going to list them for you. One, healing from the past, healing from whatever issues you had with that child's father. Those things need to be behind you. And you also need to forgive and put any kind of bitterness where that person, that child's father is concerned. You need to deal with it, right? Unconscious to you, those things, if you have bitterness in your heart for that child's father, it comes out in little ways. You have to deal with the past and deal with whatever hurt that child's father caused you, right? Have to deal with it. It takes a village to raise a child, they say, and that is true. You do need support. It is extremely important. So that's number 2, right? And number 3, all single mothers, in my opinion, need to become financially stable or independent. All. I'm not saying that the child's father should not contribute financially. Of course, it's his child, but you can't just live your life waiting and expecting his money to take care of you or take care of the child. It is extremely important for you to become financially stable, to become financially independent. So when the father falls short, you don't need to beg. You don't need to beg or you don't need to go to court. I know there are some cases where you have no choice but to go to court. But think about it, ladies. You want the hassle, right? Let's say you were financially comfortable enough to take care of your children. You had no issues financially, right? Would you want to actually go through the trouble of putting this man through court and paying your child all that drama and the back and forth or whatever if you knew you could just pelt out money and see about your children? No, I don't think you want that hassle. You might be happy to just say, boy, whatever, yes, you can't get money this month, whatever, right? So you may not, that's not something that can happen overnight, but you should have the mindset that you want to get there, where you could be financially stable enough to take care of your child. And so whatever the father give you is extra for you. But it's not that you're dependent on that, right? So those are the 3 things, but we're going to go into that more next week. And also we're going to have the guests. So I want to give you an opportunity to ask questions. I saw a couple earlier on.